Jeffrey connected, he was like, listen, brother, I got you. I know this is your first film, but I got you. And that's rare. So talk about that if you can.
So I've had the distinct pleasure of working with Cord for 10 years. You know, he was my very first client. I was his very first manager. So, you know, the grand experiment of whether or not I know how to manage talent and the grand experiment of whether or not he could write for screen was like the trust exercise we did with each other all those years ago. And I've said it many times, he is the hardest working, most disciplined writer I've ever met in my entire life. And it shows in the writing, it shows in the way that he speaks about the art and the creativity. And it is a dangerous thing to do when you write with exactly one voice in your head and you know you want it to be Jeffrey because you are setting yourself up to have your heart broken. But that's part of the job on my end as well as, you know, his partners, producing partners, to say, well, let's go chase that brass ring and do everything we can to leave it all on the floor. And then if Jeffrey says no, okay, well, we did everything we can. We emptied out our pockets and kind of threw it all out there, and we tried our best, and now we got to figure out how else we can make this thing. But that was the gift of Jeffrey. And the moment they got to know each other, I think they immediately saw each other in a way that you know, when he came back from the first meeting and told me how it went, I didn't, you know, my job is to kind of at least manage expectations. But in my head, I said, oh, I think Jeffrey's going to do this. It took 2 more meetings and a couple more, you know, a couple more months in order to figure it all out. But right away, Jeffrey was asking the right questions of Cord, and Cord was really answering with the intention of a creator, a person that had a point of view. And Jeffrey's an artist, so Jeffrey's not looking for the biggest, shiniest, fanciest name. He's already worked with all those people. So for him, it was about, does this brother have a point of view? Does he have something he wants to say? Is he passionate? Is he in it for the right reasons? And I mean, I've known Cord for 10 years. The answer's always been yes to that.
I think what's so amazing about that is he comes from the world of journalism. So he's written and has seen tons of stories. He knows the landscape, got bored and said, hey, why don't I do this in Hollywood? And this is his first film, you guys, so amazing job, right? Let's give it up for Cord Jefferson. I thought the rest of the cast was perfect. I mean, Issa Rae as, I kept saying Sinatra. Did you guys not want to say Sinatra, but it's Centaur, right? I kept saying Sinatra. I was like, that's crazy. Tracee Ellis Ross. Love Sterling K. Brown. That was a different Randall, you guys. That wasn't This Is Us Randall. I heard it in the audience when he you know, everybody's like, oh, okay, what's going on? But talk about that. Were they the perfect cast for you guys? Is that, in addition to Jeffrey, was that who you, and I forgot, I'm sorry, the Leslie Uggams, right? I mean, she's an icon. And in my mind, in my crazy mind, I was like, again, you're giving, you know, Hollywood the middle finger because it's like, y'all, we got Kizzy in this film, but it's a reverse, right? But let's talk about the cast.
So the gift of Jeffrey is also that Jeffrey engenders trust amongst other people, right? So if Jeffrey believes in this first-time filmmaker and his vision, it makes it easier for Tracee to believe. It makes it easier for Sterling to believe, Issa, so on and so forth. And with all of these characters, they were people that we, you know, as a team, we socialized and said, okay, we really think Tracee would be a great Lisa. And we said, okay, let's take a shot. Let's take a shot. And Tracee, because, you know, you see Jeffrey's already on board to play, you know, this character, and Tracee looks in and can look at a role that isn't, you know, it isn't big because she's not in the whole movie. Right. And the moment she like died on screen and, you know, we wrapped her on set, you could feel it. Like everybody on set was like, oh, we miss Tracee. And then Sterling shows up and he brings this different kind of energy that we all love, that we needed. So like it was this interesting, you know, it's a movie that at the underpinning of it is about a family. And they really felt like a family. We all really felt like a family in a way that was, you know, I think special and unique, and something that, like, in retrospect, I have this kind of nostalgia for. And I mean, I can't say enough great things about Leslie. And that was somebody that I don't think we thought we were punching way above our weight by even going to her. You know, we were just like, Leslie's not gonna do this, and she signed on, and we were all thrilled. And the scene where she's walking on the beach at night, and she's disoriented. That was her last day of shooting. It was probably about this temperature outside, maybe 40s, 20-mile-an-hour winds, and we're wrapping her up between takes. And we're just checking in on her. And Cord comes by, he goes, Leslie, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you good? Are you okay to do one more? And she looks at him, and she goes, of course I'm okay. We're making a movie. But that was the energy that all these people brought. And I think that was just that is, I've said 97% of my career has been a mixture of hard work and dumb luck. And I think we worked real hard, but I think we were just so fortunate to have the cast that we got, and they are just incredible.
How much from, or what did not make it that was in the book, did not make it to the screen?
Lisa is murdered in the book instead of having a heart attack, and Cord very smartly realized that you can't have her get murdered and then not pursue that storyline. She gets murdered, you're going to spend half the rest of the film trying to figure out, well, who killed her and why and what's going on. It turns into a completely different movie. The book itself, My Pathology, is like a solid chunk of the book. Percival's like a very interesting, heady meta writer, and he wrote the book inside the book. So there's a lot of that's in there, and there's a fair amount of stuff with the father. He cut out a lot of stuff with the patriarch, but there's a lot of those things that are not in the movie, and it's because it really doesn't make for interesting, compelling, narrative on screen. But those were I think the smart changes, and that was, Percival watched the film, and I think Cord can tell everybody that he was probably the scariest moment of his life. He called me like he was going on his first date. And he's just like, Percival's coming over with his wife to watch it. His wife's Nancy Senna, so it's they're a very literary family, and they came over and watched it. And Percival right after said, I loved it. You made it your own. And I think that was what's special. It's not a shot for shot thing. If you go read the book, you'll enjoy the book, and you can watch the movie, and it's its own thing unto itself.
Which happens a lot, right? A lot of times the films are a lot different from the book. Let's talk about your company, 3 Arts Entertainment. That's actually located here in Atlanta. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
We are a management company first, right? I've always, that's how I was quote unquote raised at the company. So, our flagship office is in LA. We have offices in New York, Toronto, and Atlanta. But our initial kind of ethos is around representing the best in class writers, directors, actors, and advocating for them and helping them pursue whatever their biggest, wildest dreams are. And by proxy of that, sometimes we do produce with them, right? So, my colleagues have represented anybody from Kevin Hart to Tina Fey to Issa Rae to, Amy Poehler, and we've produced some great television with those. It's 30 Rock, it's Parks and Recreation, it's The Office. I'm very proud of this film, you know what I mean? But the wellspring is talent first. Believe in the people that you represent, push them to the center of the room, advocate for them, fight for them, protect their vision, tell them when they're wrong sometimes. That's the job day in and day out. And for me personally, because I've been doing this for about 14 years, it's been very much about protecting people that look like me and saying, hey, there's so many, I didn't know a soul in this business when I got in this business. I moved to California for the weather because I graduated in a recession and it was cold outside in Jersey. So I moved across the country and fell into the business. And I realized more and more that there were people that looked like me that were creators. I'm not an artist, that's not how my brain works. But I realized there were so many people that looked like me that were on the fringes, that were staying in a lane that felt comfortable for them because they didn't feel like they knew anybody on this part of the business that would advocate for them, that would look after them, that wouldn't try to take advantage of them. And I felt this, you could call it a calling, maybe that's trite, but I just felt moved to say, hey, you can come into this sandbox and say what you want to say, and I'll give you the megaphone, and I'll make sure nobody pushes you off your box. Like, so let's get to work. And I was fortunate enough that people believed in me, and I wasn't wrong.
Thanks for telling me, guys. So we're gonna open it up. Do we have enough time to do some Q&A from the? Yeah. Do we have any questions? Okay. All the way up there at the top. Yeah, you.
Hi, my name is Cheyenne. So first and foremost, I think you said that you weren't an artist, but I think to be in this industry I would like to say make you one, because you need everyone on all sides. So a scene that really spoke to me as someone who's a writer in film, as a screenwriter, also does novel writing as well, is I think with Jeffrey and Issa Rae sitting at the table. And I'd like to know your perspective as either someone who viewed it or on set about the conversation not being had just about Hollywood and like white Hollywood, right? But I feel like the conversation that we as Black people have as, do I let people sell me out, or should I go for like my own bag? Because I feel like that's also an underpinning conversation that was being had. And I feel we've all probably felt like, I've seen some other filmmakers in the room that I've worked with or know, where we know other people are gonna take from us, but yet it feels like we can't be the one to do it ourselves, right? So what was that like, either on set or watching it, or maybe the writing of that conversation? Because I feel for me, I felt that conversation a lot. So that's my question.
Did you guys hear all that?
All right. That's a fantastic question. That's actually, and funny enough, that scene's not in the book either. Watching that scene, I think that was one of those scenes that we were all waiting to see play out. You read it a million times, you see a million drafts of the script, you know what's going to be said, but to see it was particularly interesting because there is, Percival has a Latin phrase, and I won't misquote the Latin because I can't speak it, but his Latin phrase at the end of the book that roughly translates to, I offer no hypothesis. So the idea being, both sides of this scale are weighted, and we never put our thumb on it to say Issa's right or Jeffrey's right. We leave it to you to kind of decide for yourself and what parts of your moral compass lead you in which direction. And for me, my favorite part of that scene was once we wrapped it, we were all talking for the rest of the day about our different kind of lines where we would cross or not cross, or based on the bag, right? Based on what's being offered, based on what you have to sacrifice as a creator to get to where you want to get to. And the other gift of that conversation while making this movie is that we were making a movie where we didn't have to sacrifice any of it. And that was the gift.
I was sitting there thinking the same thing, like which team am I on?